In this diverse and convoluted thing we call life, it's still quite a lovely thought to know that something new that you don't even know you want or need is about to enter your life and change it. Be it a change in diet, those brand spanking new trainers, or maybe even a hairstyle, trends have become part of human nature. Movie making is no exception to this rule, and throughout the generations we've found fresh ideas that wow us into a state of awe, and that success brings the studios profit. The industry will latch onto whatever new crazes it can get its claws into, fill their screens to the brim with them, and then disappear into the dark abyss never to be seen again. But we remember, and soon you will too. So with that in mind, I'm Ellie with Whatculture, here with movie crazes you forgot were a thing. 3D movies. For a long time, 3D movies were seen as something of a novelty, a way of poking fun at each other for wearing goofy red and blue glasses whilst trying to dodge things jumping at you from the screen. Avatar, however, shattered this perception in 2009 and gave birth to a new way of movie-going. Slick, trendy black glasses and an experience that was new and novel, we could now live in the world being painted around us. The trend continued over the subsequent years, with The Hobbit, Marvel and Star Wars all enhancing their worlds with this immersive venture. Crucially, 3D was being used as the primary selling point for some movies, and audiences were actively reacting to that by buying tickets. Now though, we've become so neutralised to the idea of 3D that a film can't be sold simply on the premise of being able to add depth to your picture. Most big summer blockbusters offer this experience as a given, and in doing so, the fuss that was caused over 10 years ago by those blue aliens of Pandora appears to have subsided.
Film and TV is cool, but you know what else is cool? Protecting your privacy online. Scan the QR code or click the link in the description and get up to 76% off a 2-year NordVPN plan, plus 3 months free if you sign up today. I'd make that deal. Damn good deal.
Parodies. When a spoof is done right, it can be a thing of pure beauty. See Mel Brooks' Young Frankenstein and Spaceballs as two examples of what can be achieved when the correct levels of wit and self-awareness are combined with, making the film actually funny. A string of god-awful spoofs started to raid the box office in the mid-2000s, ranging from the bad, like the epic movie, to the downright offensive, meet the Spartans. It's not that the acting was particularly bad, it's that these films seemed to be designed for someone with the attention span of a gnat, which made their popularity near miraculous. We devolved from a monster putting on a show-stealing performance of Putting on the Ritz to fart and incest jokes. And not even the funny ones. Scary Movie and Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story aside, the quality of the spoof has been in a low ebb for nearly 3 decades. And now that the paying public are regularly being spoilt with new original comedy movies, the day of the parodies seems to be done. Found footage. In an age where it's near universal to carry around a recording device, Paranormal Activity and Cloverfield use the footage captured on these devices to incite honest dread and panic. Pure genius! The ability to move the camera with pace and frenetic energy whilst also incorporating our ever-changing technological advances, like Xbox's Kinect being a staple of the 4th paranormal film, make for some must-see viewing. Or at least it did in the late 2000s. Then, the wheels fell off. Paranormal Activity squeezed out 3 sequels and a few spin-offs, whilst Cloverfield sensed the end was nigh and leaned into the thriller and sci-fi elements of their material instead of the found footage. The truth is, now we are fully aware that these real people being shot are actors, and that element of realism has taken a catastrophic hit. And even though it is a thoroughly underrated filming technique that can really spice up a well-conceptualized movie, it's far less likely to be getting any big-hitting movies released in that style anytime soon. People have just had enough of it. Shaky cam. When filming a fight or battle scene, a cameraman will quickly find out that it is quite difficult to stay steady with an assortment of flailing actors and extras buzzing around them. The usage of the effect has attracted its fair share of hate over the years, but it's fair to say that it more than contributes to the intense and unpredictable nature of most of the scenes it is used in. We're at a point in cinema now where action films have lent so hard on the trope that it almost feels unusual if a fight scene is shot in a stable way. Think about it, it's hard to differentiate between which action films that do and do not use this way of shooting, as for the most part, we've gotten so used to shaky cam, it's no longer just a craze, it's the norm. The sheer effort and dedication that goes into choreographing an intimate fight between two actors or stuntmen is then stitched together with the added variable of a handheld cameraman, who has to try and keep up and not lose the fine work that has just been formulated. It is a craze that you forgot about, but one that is definitely still around. Raunchy teen comedies. In the early noughties, something quite peculiar happened. A glut of ideas involving young adults trying to get their end away whilst also coming to terms with what the future will hold for them swept the globe. The breakthrough came almost 20 years earlier with 1982's Porky's, and if Porky's started it, then American Pie perfected it by 1999. Managing to represent a generation that had been greatly influenced by porn and their own peers, four dorky mates seek to lose their virginities by their prom night. It was a hit and spelled an era where sex, gross-out comedy, and the losers coming good were a winning combination. But it wasn't long before oversaturation and culture changes began to take an effect on the popularity of the genre. It tanked at least for a while before being reborn in the fire of modern movie-making standards. Teen comedies these days tend to be a lot more woke, with Booksmart claiming critical success in early 2019 and Good Boys opening to a warm reception too. Mockumentary comedies. Ricky Gervais is to blame for this one. His overwhelmingly successful series The Office amassed an audience so dedicated that the big screen had to take notice and buy into the genre. And with the mockumentary comes three unavoidable names: Sacha, Baron, and Cohen. Cohen had dabbled in the art of mockumentary with his epic interviews with Donald Trump and the Beckhams as Ali G in The Ali G Show. However, he took things to a whole new level when he was commissioned to bring another of his TV sensations, Borat, to the big screen. And then everything continued to spiral. Later, Cohen's Dictator showed the cracks that had been emerging due to the increasing number of follow-up attempts by other studios and creators. Unfortunately, post-Bruno, the genre hasn't been quite up to scratch, with Tour de Pharmacy and pop star Never Stop Never Stopping proving to be futile efforts. Cohen and Gervais caught lightning in a bottle, and it looks like the only hope for this dying art may have been Taika Waititi's What We Do in the Shadows film and series, really. Werewolves, not swearwolves. POV. James Cameron's Terminator took advantage of the POV style, notably shooting many of Arnie's scenes through the vantage point of the cyborg. The effect can also be located in the high-octane, night vision-wielding, ass-kicking in Matthew Vaughn's Kick-Ass dished out by Hit Girl, and of course in the beloved video game adaptation Doom. GoPro-style filming hit new peaks with the release of Hardcore Henry, a film almost entirely shot in POV, and whilst visually the outcome was spectacular, the critics weren't convinced, with a healthy dose of mixed reviews. In a society where we're offered the chance to step into another world for a small fee, it looks as though we draw the line at having to spend an entire film in someone else's shoes, as not many films have gone back to that well since Henry's exploits. Ships at Sea films. Sea life has long been explored in the art of film. The utter size of the open water and unmitigated potential for all manner of weird and wonderful stories have made for everything from horrors from the deep in Jaws to the coastal comedies such as Baywatch. Titanic did the movies about large vessels at the sea what Mick Jagger did for skinny jeans. James Cameron's epic went on to break all the global box office records, and other studios smelt cash in the water. The late 90s and early noughties saw a wave of films about people on boats having trouble in the big blue. Deep Rising, The Perfect Storm, The Lost Voyage, Ghost Ship, and Poseidon, all trying to lure audiences back for a sniff of what they enjoyed so much in Titanic. But they didn't quite succeed in giving their films characters you cared about like Rose and Jack. There have been exceptions to the lull, like Captain Phillips and In the Heart of the Sea, but Hollywood is definitely not as obsessed as it once was. Art house movie posters. Your movie is sold based on how well its marketing is, and no piece of marketing works quite as well as a specifically designed poster. If you look at how the MCU has gone about promoting its work, you'll see how the onus has shifted from brooding, almost metallic imagery of the first Iron Man to the more vibrant, visceral options we had almost 10 years later in Infinity War. This is due to the audience's taste shifting and demanding a lighter and brighter design to get them into the cinema. Although today's posters are quite pleasing on the eye, they simply don't compare to the now retro options of yesteryear. A Clockwork Orange with its plain white background pierced by Alex brandishing a knife through the centre, Apocalypse Now plotting a seemingly melting Marlon Brando front and centre, whilst Apache helicopters flock like birds around them. They really don't make posters like they used to, except for maybe Quentin Tarantino. Works of art, instead of works of pure marketing, are really a thing of the past. Westerns. In terms of forgetting that this was a thing, let's be honest, it's highly unlikely that you did. Westerns dominated the box office and made John Wayne, Robert Redford, and Clint Eastwood household names for generations to come. What we do forget is just how big this era was, since it spanned almost 30 years of unbridled popularity. Storytelling was simple and compelling, well-constructed heroes taking on dastardly villains and horseback action, and showdowns aplenty. They also boasted incredible cinematography, and the likes of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid and The Good, the Bad and the Ugly are irreplaceable classics. But with time comes change, and this has never been more prevalent than with the dying of the Western genre.